Welcome. It is Verdict with Senator Ted Cruz. Ben Ferguson with you. It's nice to have you with us on the show, and we've got a big one for you, including more Somali fraud reported in a Republican state, and it is massive.
Well, I got to say, the pattern we're seeing of fraud, of people stealing from the federal taxpayer, stealing from you, is staggering. We saw, first of all, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Somali fraudsters stealing over $9 billion from taxpayers. But the problem is not limited to Minnesota. We now have a breaking blockbuster story from Daily Wire about Ohio. The very same pattern, Somali fraudsters engaged in fake home health companies stealing tens of millions of dollars from the taxpayers. This is a pattern that I think exists across the country. It's in the big blue states. It's in California. It's in New York. It's in Illinois. But it may well be in all 50 states. We're going to break it down and reveal the shocking facts of the theft that is going on in broad daylight. We're also going to talk about the continued descent of Tucker Carlson into the spiral of madness. And I don't say that word lightly. He did an interview with the New York Times where he gets wackier and wackier. He attacks me over and over and over again. Apparently, I am living rent-free in the poor guy's brain. And he also is confronted by the fact that he's gone on air and he has accused Donald J. Trump of being the Antichrist. Now, when the New York Times confronted him about that, he said, I didn't say that. I never say that. So they played him the clip of him saying exactly that. And he just lied and denied it. And I got to say, it is sad seeing Tucker Carlson getting more and more extreme and more irrelevant. We're going to come to you with the facts on that as well.
Yeah, it really is incredible. Want to take a moment and talk to you about Rough Greens. And as many of you know, Memphis, our dog, passed away recently. But the end of life that he had was awesome. We got him on Rough Greens, and it gave him new life. He was acting like a puppy. Unfortunately, he got a tumor, and that was it. But we did get a new puppy who's named Birdie, and we decided we weren't going to wait. Rough Greens not only is amazing for your dog, but also for your puppy, and they even have support as well for puppy development with Rough Greens, and we've got him on that. It is making a huge difference because we want our puppy to have a great life. And that's why I want you to check out Rough Greens right now. After we saw what happened with our older dog, Memphis, we realized, why wait until the dog's older? Why not give Rough Greens right now to little Birdie? And we know what it does. It supports long-term health by providing live bioavailable nutrients, including essential vitamins, minerals, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and omega oils. Now, the ingredients, they work together to improve nutrition absorption. Also, help Birdie maintain joint and muscle health as she grows and enhance her overall vitality. Now, we care about Birdie's longevity. We've already lost 2 dogs, unfortunately, when they got older. And this is a way we can do everything we can to keep Birdie around as long as possible. Now, there are deficiencies found in processed dog food, but Rough Greens, it supplements your dog or your puppy's diet with natural antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that help reduce oxidative stress, support immune defense as well, and slow age-related decline. That's what we love the most. Now, it's easy. You're not buying new food. You just sprinkle it on the current food that your dog eats, and bam, they love it. So whether you've got a puppy or an older dog, you need to check out and try Rough Greens. You will see a difference. Now, you don't have to change your dog's food. You just add Rough Greens. And I'm going to offer you a free Jumpstart trial bag. You just cover shipping. Use the discount code VERDICT to claim your free Jumpstart trial bag at roughgreens.com. That's RUFF. Greens with an S.com. Promo code VERDICT. So don't change your dog's food. Just add Rough Greens and watch the health benefits come alive. Senator, just since we started this show, and we have this Somali fraud that we're going to talk about in Ohio, but there's a new article that just came out. I'm just going to read the headline because it just shows how fast the fraud is being exposed. Somalis reportedly filled an Ohio strip mall with potential fraudulent childcare centers. This coming from the AB6 investigators there in Columbus, saying several Somali-owned daycare facilities, including a cluster located at a strip mall, which, by the way, don't exist, They've now been uncovered. And then that is on top of another local station that just exposed a massive trucking company fraud. All of these trucking companies, like dozens and dozens, all at the same exact address in these suites. So now we've got new fraud on top of fraud on top of the fraud we're going to talk about on this show today.
Yeah, it's a stunning pattern, and it's clear the fraudsters believe they would never face any scrutiny, that no politician would hold them to account, that no prosecutor would hold them to account, that nobody in the media would ever report as they were stealing millions and millions of dollars from the taxpayers. And I got to say, that tide is starting to turn. There's a blockbuster story in the Daily Wire by Luke Rosiak, who is the same lawyer who broke the Loudoun County story in Virginia, that ended up electing Glenn Youngkin as the governor of Virginia. So he's demonstrated that he can do real news work in a way that CNN, ABC, NBC, they don't do anymore. But this story, I want to read a good chunk of this story, because if you haven't read it, you need to know what's in it. It's entitled Daily Wire Investigation Reveals One of the Biggest Government Waste Scandals Hiding in Plain Sight. I've been investigating federal waste and fraud for 20 years. This is the biggest scandal I've ever found. Columbus, Ohio, just before the Department of Government Efficiency closed its doors, it made a quiet move that may end up being its most lasting impact on the federal deficit. DOJ published a massive trove of data in February that for the first time let the public see what companies are billing Medicaid for. For decades, the payouts have been shrouded in secrecy. One of the largest government programs was a black box. I've spent the past 2 months diving into the numbers. What I found was the most blatant waste of federal dollars that I've encountered in my 2 decades as an investigative reporter. I've set my sights on Ohio, which, like Minnesota, has been granted waivers to expand Medicaid well beyond its original purpose. Under the guise of health care, Ohio pays people to go to Medicaid beneficiaries' homes to perform, quote, homemaking and, quote, chores like cooking and cleaning. The people performing these, quote, personal services tasks don't even have to be healthcare workers, and in many cases are actually relatives of the Medicaid recipient. According to a Daily Wire data analysis, Ohio spent $1 billion, billion with a B, on home health care in 2024, the last year for which data is available.
Incredible.
Since the services are performed inside private residences, there's no way to know whether the workers went at all or what they're actually doing in exchange for taxpayer funds. An infinite number of small black boxes inside a black box. Multiple signs said the service provided and billed to the government was sometimes just, quote, companionship and conversation. So understand, you can talk to your relatives. You can hang out with your relatives and talk to them, and the federal government will pay you just for talking to grandpa.
I mean, you listen to that story, and it doesn't even make sense until you understand that that's exactly what they're doing. They're like, hey, we're going to pay you to hang out, not take care, hang out with a relative. They're also, how would they get all the patients for the fraud to work? You put it on a billboard, right? Like you put up billboards, you recruit family members to defraud the government by hanging out and spending time with your own mom or dad or aunt or uncle or brother or sister, and we will pay you to do that. And it's just, if that's not the definition of fraud, I don't know what is.
Well, it gets worse. As people have realized the United States government will pay them to hang out with their own families.
There it is.
Northeast Columbus has seen its economy replaced by businesses that bill Medicaid. And Columbus, a city with the second largest Somali population in the country. Did you know that? Columbus, Ohio?
No.
I didn't either.
And that's shocking, but now it explains why the fraud's so high.
Well, Columbus has become, on the surface, the most unhealthy city on the planet.
Now, to be clear what we mean by that, because like usually in the past you hear unhealthy city, you usually hear that's like a city that's overweight, where the people aren't active.
Here they're just flooding cash.
Yeah, like this is This is the unhealthy, as in how much money is it taking to take care of people through Medicare? That is what's making it the most unhealthy city in America. It's not that it's like overweight population, food deserts, and things like that. This is how bad the fraud is.
Well, here's what one person said, quote, well, if the government is going to pay you to do it, one home health operator told me, people see it as lucrative, so they just jump on it. The new welfare queens aren't the recipients whose low incomes qualify them for poverty programs. They're the companies getting rich off them. Now listen to these companies. Driving down Cleveland Avenue, in less than 40 seconds, you come across endless home health companies. Capital Home Health, Continental Home Health, Dynamic Home Health Care, Ohio Senior Home Health Care. Entire buildings throughout the city are filled entirely with what appear to be identical businesses. The enormous complex pictured below, and there's a picture in the article, is 6161 Bush Boulevard. Its lack of windows would be a problem for most office buildings, but there is almost no one in this one. What's inside is 94 different companies signed up to bill Medicaid, each with a tiny office, often marked with a sheet of paper proclaiming some generic company name ending in Home Health LLC. And sometimes, this is particularly funny, another piece of paper claiming the employees had just stepped out for a break. Mind you, they've all stepped out for a break and they never come back.
Yeah.
This building alone billed taxpayers $66 million in the span of a few years, the records show. Pick
Incredible.
the owner of a Columbus home health care company at random and look him up on public records. You're likely to go down an endless rabbit hole. Years of unpaid taxes and debts, sometimes criminal records, and an astonishing number of LLCs created in other industries, as if the millions they make from Medicaid are just a side gig. We went down several of those rabbit holes. In the coming days, you'll meet. Now, I'm going to give you several of these examples. Every one of these is going to piss you off. These are real people, or at least real fake people, in Ohio. Number one, a politician who founded an $11 million home health care company that he appeared to run part-time without even mentioning it in his political biography, who then funded his campaign. He funded his campaign with donations from other home health care owners. So this is a guy robbing $11 million. He's hiding it because obviously he's embarrassed about it. And he's relying on other fraudsters to fund his political operation. This is the shameless grift, the cycle of thievery that we're seeing over and over again. All right, here's another one, number two. A woman who reinvented her janitorial LLC, so she had a janitorial company, as a, quote, health provider. Then she billed Medicaid. What do you think she billed Medicaid? The very first month she went from being a janitorial company to a health provider. What do you think she billed Medicaid?
If you got a good Somali mentor and you go from the toilet cleaning, job to then, and sorry, I got the hiccups now, but if you go from a toilet cleaning job to then you go to home health care, like surely your first month and startup would be, I don't know, $5,000, $8,000 maybe. I know I'm wrong, right?
Nearly $100,000.
Yeah, $100,000 first month. First month, like that is one heck of a startup right there, folks.
All right, here's another one. Number three. By the way, you've got the hiccups. We're going to send a home health care provider.
Yeah. Can I make $100,000? I'll take it.
That would be your children, and they're going to go punch you in the stomach till you stop hiccuping.
I like this. I like this plan.
Okay.
As long as I get paid, it's fine. I want a kickback here.
Or at least golf sponsorships.
There you go.
Number three, a landlord who bought airplanes after renting space to hundreds of home health care companies that billed Medicaid $250 million, $250 million. Number four, a man who went to prison for Medicaid fraud, but told the government he was too broke to pay restitution, while his neighbors and associates provide over a poverty program empire. And number five, an accountant who has lost his license for stealing public funds, then opened a $7 million home health care company using the address of a convicted money launderer's teenage son. Now, I got to say, Ben, if you're listening to this, if you're not pissed off,
that's impressive,
you're not
by
paying
the way.
attention.
I mean, Senator, this story really brings us back to even a bigger point, and that is this is probably nationwide. Like what we're witnessing, what we're seeing, this is going to end up being fraud at different levels, probably in every state in America, because you're still dealing with fraud through the federal government. So you can set up shop anywhere because it's not like it's a lot of state oversight here.
Well, listen, this is brazen. These are fraudsters who believe no politician will ever call them to account. No government employee will ever examine the facts. No prosecutor will look at it. And they're quite confident that the press will never examine it. These are not geniuses. Let me read a little more from the story. These are not, in fact, here's the point I was just making. These are not business geniuses, nor even people with any training or specialty in the health field. They have often failed at a variety of businesses before suddenly becoming millionaires in home health care. Sometimes a company will have a full roster of clients in its very first month, making one wonder where the clients come from. The companies don't have websites or appear to advertise. They can't stand out from their thousands of rivals based on price unless they pay kickbacks, because the government pays the same to everyone. Nearly every owner of a healthcare company in Columbus appears to be foreign. Let me repeat that because that's a stunning statement. Nearly every owner of a home healthcare company in Columbus appears to be foreign. They live in a parallel society where every associate in public records also has a foreign name, and all their business transactions are conducted with other foreigners. When we asked one what home health care companies did, one man threatened, "Journalists, who cares? Do you guys pay my bills? I'm going to tell everybody you guys are racists." The government cannot meaningfully monitor all the people it writes million-dollar checks to in Columbus. They all share combinations of just a few names, like Ahmed Mohammed and Mohammed Ahmed. How is this not satire, by the way? I'm reading actual news. Documents reviewed by the Daily Wire show individuals will spell their own name multiple different ways within a single document. Let me repeat that again. Someone spells the name Bean Ferguson.
Yeah.
Ban Fergie Ferguson. How do you misspell your name multiple times in a document?
And backwards. Sometimes it was Ben Ferguson, it was Ferguson Ben. Like it was Ted Cruz and then Cruz Ted.
Penelope Cruz, Tom Cruise, Cruise Control, like every variant you can come with. And many of them list their birthdays as January 1st because their birthdays are unknown. The business model is simple. A 40-year-old Somali immigrant gets paid for spending time with and maybe cooking for his own 65-year-old mother. The middleman is one of thousands of home health firms that have the NPI number necessary to bill Medicaid. The 40-year-old becomes a quote, employee of that company, but has no clients other than his mother. There is no way to verify whether he actually provided the, quote, services unless his own mother is willing to testify against him. This poverty program is different from things like food stamps because it has no monetary cap and its extent is decided not by politicians, but by any doctor willing to sign a form saying you could use some help around the house. It only takes one doctor who will say yes to churn out enough forms to bankrupt a state.
I want to talk to you real quick about our amazing sponsor, and it is Patriot Mobile. This year marks a critical moment for our country. As the opposition grows more aggressive and unapologetic, the fight now reaches into the everyday decisions we make. Patriot Mobile has been standing on the front lines fighting for freedom for more than 12 years. They don't just deliver top-tier wireless service. They are activists like me who truly care about our country. Patriot Mobile offers prioritized premium access on all three major U.S. networks, giving you the same or better coverage than the main carriers do. That means fast speeds and dependable nationwide coverage, backed by 100% U.S.-based customer support. They also offer unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and more. With simple, seamless activation, you can switch in minutes. You can keep your same number and keep your phone or upgrade. And here's the difference. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll be part of a powerful stream of giving that directly funds the Christian conservative movement. So take a stand today with every phone call you make and make a difference. PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Ferguson for a free month of service. Don't wait. That's PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. To bankrupt a state, let's be clear about what they're saying. This is why they're the most unhealthy city in America, because of this fraud. This is why all your tax dollars are going there. And all it takes is a doctor with apparently no checks and balances. But it's like doctor shopping. Like, we know doctors that do this. They abuse their power. They write scripts. For example, there's one arrested in Houston this week that was writing massive amounts of opioid scripts. Why? Because he's getting massive paydays from patients. You could have the same exact thing happening there.
For years, efforts to rein in waste have nibbled around the edges, shaving off $1 million here and $1 million there, while skeptics and liberals argued that the cost-cutting exercise was pointless because the lion's share of federal spending was locked up in, quote, non-discretionary spending, like healthcare. The implication was that there was no waste in that category and nothing that could be done about it, even as the nation careened towards insolvency. That premise couldn't be more wrong. This blatant waste happened within miles of the Ohio State Capitol, where Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican, and his appointees run the state. In an era of artificial intelligence, the Medicaid system has seemed disinterested in even the most obvious red flags. Perhaps that's because it's largely run by states, but with half or more of the bill being footed by the federal taxpayers. The Trump administration is now turning its sights to Medicaid fraud with a task force led by the Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson and Vice President J.D. Vance. They may want to start with Vance's home state. I got to say, look, this is stunning, and it is a pattern. It's not confined to Minnesota. It's not confined to Ohio. This is a pattern of theft across the country. And we need to have vigorous efforts. I want to commend the Trump administration. The Department of Justice is going after this fraud. HHS is going after this fraud. We're beginning to see accountability. And I want to thank the Daily Wire for doing some reporting. Let me ask, where the hell is CNN, ABC, NBC? CBS is doing a little bit. But Washington Post, New York Times, are there actual reporters?
The hardcore investigative journalists are not doing any of this journalism. This is like the conservative advocates out there that are doing this job. The Nick Shirleys are doing this job. No one in the mainstream media is breaking this story.
Look, we covered previously on this podcast how CNN, when the story broke in Minnesota, they decided to check it. So they called these, quote, childcare agencies, and they said, "Hi, this is CNN calling. Are you engaged in fraud?" And they said, "No." And they said, "Oh, okay, thank you," and hung up. That's what they called reporting.
Yeah.
The last I checked, if you call criminals and ask them if they're committing crimes, most of them are going to tell you no. And by the way, CNN knows that. The reporters know that. The producer knows that. The executive producer knows that. Everyone up and down the line knows that. They know how to actually investigate a story. It's just that the media doesn't care about this story. I commend the Daily Wire. We're going to keep covering this, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg on what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be other types of fraud that we talked about at the beginning of the show. We're going to keep covering it. And as these stories break, we will have it here. I hope you'll take this show and share it, by the way, because it's so important that we get it out there.
But by the way, Ben, I will tell you, you know my dad. He's 87 years old. My dad's kind of a badass. What my father says, he says in 87 years, he's never hiccuped more than once.
See, that's fake news.
I'm just telling you, my father Look, when I was in high school, if I would get a 99 on a test, my dad would say, "Why didn't you get 100?" And he would say, I'm not meaning to be mean, but my father would say to me, if you hiccup twice, it's a sign of weakness, because if you hiccup once, you just need to decide, don't do it again.
Don't do it again. Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm pretty sure it's the medication that says a side effect is hiccup. That's what I looked at. So I'm doing the best I can here, sir. I'm doing the best I can.
I'll confess, I've failed my father's standard of never hiccup more than once, but if I'm hiccuping, usually if I take a glass of water and just drink the whole thing uninterrupted, it goes away.
So we paused the show earlier. People don't know this because we were trying to get rid of the hiccups. We tried everything and during the break. So it is what it is at this point. You can always go back and give me a hard time for this one.
Okay.
It's easy. It's
done.
easy. I want to take a moment to tell you about an organization that is called Americans United for Life. ALU is a nonprofit law firm and advocacy group that was founded in 1971, 2 years before Roe established the constitutional right to an abortion before fetal viability. With the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs v. Jackson and the Women's Health Organization overturning its 1973 ruling in Roe v. Wade, the nonprofit law firm has seen its biggest victory yet. Now, there are Democrats and liberals that are fighting back, and that's where you and I have the opportunity to overturn pro-abortion laws and advance pro-life legislation that attacks the most vulnerable in our society, from the womb to the tomb. Together, we can stand side by side, and we can shape the future of our nation through life-affirming legislation in every state. And that is where your monthly gift of $25 genuinely helps to advance pro-life legislation desperately needed in 38 states to help pass pro-life legislation to defend life. For America's 250th birthday, every gift they receive will be matched 2x up until $200,000. You can donate securely right now at alu.org/verdict. That's AUL.org/verdict. AUL.org/verdict, sponsored by Americans United for Life. All right, Senator, let's move to Tucker Carlson. He did an interview, and it couldn't have gone worse for him with the New York Times. I've said this before. Some disagree with me. I think the demise of Tucker Carlson is happening in real time. I think his audience is disappearing very quickly. I think these types of interviews do incredible damage to his integrity, his character. And these interviews just show how unhinged he is, which we've been talking about for quite some time. He's also still obsessed with you and had something very interesting to say about you in this New York Times interview as well.
Who do you think is more morally repulsive, Ted Cruz or
Who
Nick
do you
Fuentes?
think is more morally repulsive?
Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a sitting U.S. senator who has called for the killing of people who did nothing wrong, whole populations who advocated for this war. Nick Fuentes is like a kid. He's like 26 or 7. He has no power except his words. Here you have a public official who we pay, who has actual power, who's voting for things, who's making policy decisions. And those decisions would include, in fact, they are focused on the murder of people who did nothing wrong. And yet no one thinks it's a big deal. Well, this is totally fine. I mean, if there's tape of Nick Fuentes saying we should kill people because we hate their parents, or it's okay to kill children, I would love to see the tape, because that's disgusting. And that's basically what the entire U.S. Senate does every single day, and no one notices. Nick Fuentes said something naughty that I disagreed with. He made fun of things that I don't think I would never make fun of them.
He's a white nationalist who's denied the Holocaust. And what I will say,
okay,
from
but
my
is that
own
worse than killing kids?
From my understanding of my own, I was just in Germany recently, and it was such a good reminder that the Holocaust didn't start with the gassing of Jews. It started with the dehumanization of Jews. It was language that was used. And again,
right.
That is what it
I
concerns
couldn't agree more. And that's why when you have a U.S. senator, a member of Congress, a U.S. ambassador waving away civilian deaths as if they don't matter, that's the language of genocide, which results, and this is the lesson of the Holocaust, in genocide itself. And it has. So the lesson for me, really, watching all of this, is that this can happen in civilized countries, in all human beings. there is the capacity to ignore the evil right in front of you. And my point is, it's happening right now. And my job, to the extent I have one, I don't really have a job, but I just want to remind people that we're all capable of that, including me, and that we're watching it right now. And if you think that Nick Fuentes is a greater threat to other human beings than Ted Cruz, I would love to know how.
I can imagine people hearing this and thinking you are soft-pedaling Nick Fuentes. You are apologizing for Nick Fuentes.
I'm hardly soft-pedaling Nick Fuentes. I'm trying to awaken people to killing of innocents in our midst, which we are not only encouraged to ignore, but really told to ignore on pain of being denounced. And I'm just saying, no, I'm not doing that.
Senator Nick Fuentes is a Holocaust denier.
Yeah,
Period,
but Ben, that doesn't even touch it. Let's start with the fact that this loon, I think he brought me up 8 or 9 times in that interview. Apparently, I am living completely rent-free in his brain. And every word he's saying is a brazen lie. I am 55 years old. Never once have I called for the murder of innocents. Never once have I called for the murder of children. By the way, he claims that I do that. He claims that the entire U.S. Senate does that. And it's just, it's at a point where it's a pathological lie. There's no basis in fact. There's no evidence. He just says it. He just asserts it. And he knows he's lying. He doesn't care he's lying. By the way, his defense of Nick Fuentes is, well, Nick Fuentes said something naughty. Tee naughty. Okay, here's what Nick Fuentes said. He said, Hitler was right. Hitler was very, very cool. I agree with Hitler. On Tucker's show, Nick Fuentes said his mission in life is to defeat global Jewry. That's not something naughty. That is a rabid Nazi bigot. He also said, Nick Fuentes also said that he celebrates Stalin's birthday every year. Tucker nodded approvingly. And by the way, Tucker, there's a reason why Tucker is celebrating Nick Fuentes. Tucker has gone to the point now of embracing Nazis. It's not just Nick Fuentes, who's an open Nazi. Yeah, Tucker had one lunatic professor on his show who said that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II. He had another lunatic professor on his show who said there's a good argument the Americans should have supported the Nazis in World War II. No, there's not. But Tucker is on a mission, and I believe at this point, I cannot prove it, but I believe Tucker is being compensated, is being paid by Qatar or other foreign nations. He is apologizing for Islamists. He is apologizing for Sharia. He is apologizing for America haters. He is attacking Trump every day. He is attacking Israel. He's attacking Jews. He knows he's lying about me, but his mission is also to normalize Nazis. By the way, one of the things he said this week is Graham Plattner, the lunatic Democrat nominee, or likely nominee, almost inevitable nominee in Maine for Senate, who is a self-described communist. Graham Plattner says, I am a communist, and who has not just a Nazi tattoo on his chest, but a Totenkopf, which is the tattoo of the SS in the death chambers of the concentration camps. You know what Tucker Carlson said? Oh, I want to interview Graham Plattner. I'm sure they do. Maybe they have matching Nazi tattoos. I don't know what tattoos Tucker Carlson said. As Tucker would say, I'm just asking questions. But apparently, if you're a Nazi, if you say Sig Heil, Tucker wants to elevate you. And I got to say...
And not just elevate you, normalize you.
Make it go away. And listen, by the way, when you lie about people, you notice his whole diatribe about me? He provided no evidence. What I just listed about Tucker, I can give you the episodes where he said every one of those things. Those are objective facts. But so Tucker is now a professional liar who lives without facts. And I want you to listen to this exchange. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's even better if you watch it. Because it's not just me. Tucker has decided he hates America. He hates Donald Trump. He hates Jews. He hates capitalism. He had this other lunatic on his show who said that Jesus hated capitalism and Jesus was a socialist. He is attacked. He is... All right. I want you to listen to him being confronted over his argument that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. This is what Tucker has argued. And when he's confronted with his own words, he just flat out lies. Listen.
What I was saying, which is you cannot mock other people's gods and put yourself in their place, period. That is a deal killer for me. That's worse than the war with Iran, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I ask because, you've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in
Correct.
ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist? Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows? I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it. I may have said some are asking that. I'm not weighing in on that because I don't understand it, just to be totally
No, in
clear.
Revelations, obviously, the
Senator, he said that like 15 days ago when the interview took place. This wasn't like
by the way,
2 year ago.
he says, I may have said some are asking. He didn't say that. She played what he said. She played verbatim what he said. He asked very directly, is Donald J. Trump the Antichrist? Look, I'm willing to answer that. No, I don't believe President Trump is the Antichrist. But Tucker doesn't live in the world of facts. He doesn't live where any words he says matter. And the words he's saying, so there's good news and bad news. The bad news is the words he's saying are having really serious negative consequences. He is pushing anti-Semitism. He's pushing Jew hate every day. Like every week, his show focuses on how the Jews are responsible for everything wrong in the world. But he's also pushing America hate. He's pushing how America is terrible. He's pushing Trump hate. He has said he regrets supporting Trump. He wished Trump had lost. I mean, that's...
Yeah, he said that to his brother. It was like this sad moment where they're like, we are going to be held accountable for helping this man win the White House.
So the
it was
good
their
news
sin of
is
their lives.
So the good news is Tucker is becoming more and more irrelevant each and every day. He's really talented. He's a charming, charismatic guy. Even when he's lying to you, he's like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars going, these are not the drones you're looking for. He just flat out lies, but he's charming and good at it. But the good news is he is becoming so irrelevant right now. And listen, I hope he has a really nice home in Qatar. By the way, you may not know this, but he bragged that he has bought a home in Qatar. He also has repeatedly praised the Ayatollah, the president of Iran. He's praised Maduro. He's praised Mandami. Like, if you're a Hitler lover, if you're a communist, if you're a leftist, if you're an America hater, if you're an Islamist, if you're an Ayatollah, Tucker Carlson loves you. If you're actually an American who believes in free enterprise, who believes in America first, Tucker hates your guts, and his mission is to attack you. And I think that's why more and more people are moving away from at this point. It's so disconnected from reality that it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, it really is. Don't forget, we do this show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hit that subscribe or auto download button wherever you get your podcast. Hopefully I won't have the hiccups in the next episode. The Senator and I will see you back here on Friday morning.